Hello, and welcome to this week's Movie Math, where Avatar 2 is on the precipice of surpassing Spider-Man No Way Home and joining the $2 billion club. Any minute now! Megan is lasting longer than a TikTok video at the box office. But my favorite bit of box office gossip is that a Man Called Otto's audience is whiter than mayonnaise. 70% Caucasian. Even Mary Poppins Returns was 64% Caucasian. I've never seen an audience this white. And this is even a movie about a Latino family that gets a crotchety old white guy out of his shell. No appeal beyond white audiences. And sure enough, the top 10 performing theaters for Otto all came out of the Midwest and the South. Not any from New York and Los Angeles, which usually are the top performing theaters for any movie. In fact, according to the trades, not a single LA or New York City movie theater was in the top 75 theaters for A Man Called Otto. This speaks to the alarming new trend of audiences suddenly only being interested in their own stories. But again, what about the Latino family? So one has to wonder, did Tom Hanks maybe turn off audiences of color with his turn as the villain in Elvis? That he's white scene did make quite the rounds on social media. And one would think that all the ridiculous MAGA rumors about Hanks would hurt his pull with Midwest and Southern audiences. But apparently not. But at least Tom Hanks still has an audience, and the same can't be said for poor Jerry Butler. As A Man Called Otto edged out Plane, just by a bit, but still, Plane should have done better considering just how good that movie is. Plane has a much stronger RT score and just as good audience scores. It seems Butler has trained his audience to watch him on streaming, as a lot of his recent films have gone basically straight to digital. Maybe Plane should have too. It's so good! Although with Mike Colter co-starring and doing such a great job, it's a shame there wasn't more support from black audiences. The trailer was not good. It looked awful to me. This movie is a leap of faith, and I do think it will dominate on streaming once word of mouth gets out how fun it is. Interestingly, Plane also did better in the South and the West. Los Angeles and New York used to consistently be in the top 10 of movie-going cities. And now a lot of the movie-going is happening in the South and Midwest and the West. But again, especially in New York City, there's a lack of premium screens and a quality movie-going experience on the regular screens, which I think is a major factor in driving audience behavior in major urban areas. Although I've gone to the movies in Pittsburgh, Florida, and even in Los Angeles, it's a far better regular movie-going experience. It's a delight. You're like, wow, I'd go to the movies every weekend if I could be guaranteed such a good time. I had such a good time in Pittsburgh in particular. Also, everybody is still seeing Avatar, especially as a premium ticket. And in big cities, it might be harder to convince people, considering the lack of quality of the regular movie-going experience. I think most people I know in New York City are really going for that premium ticket, the IMAX or the Dolby. And so they're like, why rush to see a movie when especially it's going to be a regular movie, especially when it's going to be on digital so soon? Now let's talk about Universal, because Universal has Megan. Even with like a totally awesome 41% second weekend drop, seriously, that is almost unheard of, particularly for horror films. Although Smile, another recent horror movie that thought outside the box, that had just an 18% second weekend drop, as it did so well with word of mouth. Although Paramount took a while to send that to digital as well. Maybe people are getting wise to the fact that Uni rushes this stuff to digital. Because Megan, even with that hold, based on Universal's recent track record, I think they're still going to send Megan to digital in just 17 days, which would mean next week. And why not? As Violent Night and Puss in Boots 2 both continued to do quite well in theaters, even when they did hit digital. Because these movies do hit digital at a very high price point. You either have to purchase them or rent them for $20. We're not talking about a $6 rental. Puss is currently the #1 movie on iTunes, yet here is still #3 at the box office, down just 1% from last weekend and crossed the century mark. It deserves it. What a great movie. What a great movie. We did discuss in one of the recent live streams that it seems that people are turned off by this style of animation, that of course was pioneered by Into the Spider-Verse. So I wonder what that spells for Across the Spider-Verse, but it was an interesting discovery indeed. It was weird. It was weird to learn this because I like this animation style so much. But anyway, Puss in Boots worldwide, the animated flick is at 247.4, and it still has to hit India, the UK, and Japan. Those last two, I think, will be particularly big markets for the movie. I still don't think it's going to get to Sing 2, but I bet it's doing quite well on digital. Sing 2, I think, I don't think they said, I think Universal's become more aggressive with sending to digital, but it's working for them. It's working for them. It's not working for Warner Brothers Discovery, which we'll talk about in just a few moments after, but we're going to talk about Avatar first. So anyway, as for Avatar, Hollywood history is indeed repeating itself as the Jimmy Cameron sequel. A number of you have been tweeting me, and some of my friends have actually even been talking to me. I think I'm making Jimmy start to stick. I'm real proud about it. You know, Jimmy, it's like Benny C. All right, so Jimmy's sequel is number one for the 5th week in a row, with just a 32% drop domestic and an equally strong hold overseas where it dropped just 36%. Oh my God. Again, there's no real competition at the box office until Universal and M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin on February 3rd, which will take over some, if not all, the premium screens. They might still save the IMAX for Avatar, but I think Knock at the Cabin's going to take over Dolby. And interestingly, M. Night's Old took even longer than 45 days to release on digital. That didn't go to digital until October 5th. That's like a little over 2 months. So you might have to wait to see Knock at the Cabin, unless you're willing to go to theaters. We'll see what Universal decides to do here. I do wonder, M. Night has a lot of pull, even still, so he might be able to have in his contract that he wants a specific theatrical window. Back to Avatar 2, with 2 more weekends to go before M. Night arrives and knocks at Jimmy's door. How far past $2 billion could it go? Again, it pulled in another $31 million domestic this weekend alone and another $88.6 overseas. So that's another $100 million in a single weekend. And that's not even counting what the business it's doing during the week. So it could squeeze out another $200 to $300 million, which would allow it to get as high as number 4 on the all-time chart, surpassing Avengers Infinity War and Star Wars The Force Awakens. It just needs to get to 2.1, and I think it'll be sitting very, very pretty. So that leaves the big questions now for Avatar are, what will Avatar 2 look like on digital and Disney Plus when you can't get that 3D experience? Will they bring back 3D TVs again? That's really interesting, because Avatar 2, I do like the story much better, but it's crazy not to experience it the way it's supposed to be, and I think a premium 3D screen. What is Disney going to do with the brand beyond movies, as we discussed last week? More theme park situations, animated series on Disney Plus, etc. And then also, can Jimmy do it all again with Avatar 3? It's like, all right, you did it twice. Can you do it 3 times? He wants to do it 5 times. We'll see if the studios just give him another victory again. They're like, here's a gimme, Jimmy. I mean, it was ridiculous. This was the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend. In the past, Hollywood has released big movies in this space, but this weekend, nothing. Sorry, Jerry Butler. Gerard Butler is actually called Jerry Butler in Hollywood. So that's funny. But sorry, Jerry Butler, but let's be real. Plane is a very, very good movie, but it's not the kind of movie that would typically take advantage of this weekend. And oh yeah, Warner Brothers Discovery's House Party came out, playing in less than half the number of theaters of all the other major releases, confirming what I heard, that Warner Brothers Discovery still doesn't have enough money to properly release their films, even after going dark at the end of 2022 to save some money. Magic Mike's Last Dance, opening February 10th to take advantage of Valentine's Day and Galentine's Day. Valentine's Day on a Tuesday? I think Valentine's Day should be a floating holiday, because that's ridiculous. But anyway, I heard that it was going to get a muted release, and so you can see that it's already happening with House Party. Less theaters, less advertising. Some of you even tweeted me when the weekend was starting that you wanted to see House Party, but it wasn't playing anywhere near you. I guess Warner Brothers Discovery spent all of House Party's advertising and release budget on that Flash Super Bowl spot. It better be worth it. And like Universal, Warner Brothers Discovery is now following their game plan and will send House Party to digital before HBO Max at no extra cost. If Zazie is really cash poor, I would recommend releasing his remaining DCEU movies before they totally lose all of their value. He wants to make these things last a year. I don't think that's going to happen. And they pretty much advertise themselves on social media because, they're not only comic book movies, but there's just been so much drama. Let's get these things out in the first quarter and get it done. And then give us a little bit of a break so we can have a palate cleanser before James Gunn's slate comes out. As I told you, I heard he will be announcing that this week. not his entire 8 to 10 year slate for this first couple of projects. We'll see. Because over on streaming, starting with Nielsen's charts, Black Adam couldn't debut in the #1 spot, getting beaten out by 2013's Prisoners, which just got on Netflix. I mean, that's incredible that Black Adam couldn't, that's a big movie available at no extra cost, and it couldn't take the top spot. I mean, it is #2, but still, that's a wee bit embarrassing. This is for the middle week of December, and there was a lot of variety of the services in play on the movies top 10, thanks to them having holiday classics. On the Nielsen overall chart, The White Lotus continued to do very well as viewers binged the final season that had just wrapped the Sunday before. Very happy to see that show doing so well. And on the original, so that's an acquired show technically. So again, its audience is even bigger. But on the originals chart, The Santa Claus has managed to keep Disney Plus in the top 10 with its season finale. It's been renewed, and as we've been discussing, of course it has, because it's the only non-Marvel and Star Wars hit they have. Willow, we've never seen Willow in the top 10, and that's been in place since Thanksgiving, and here we are in the middle of December, and this was the week that National Treasure debuted. And you might be like, well, that was just one episode, but look how low the bar is in viewership to make the top 10. Other shows have debuted with just one episode and been able to make the top 10. So that's bad. Very bad. What is it going to take for Disney Plus to get a Stranger Things Wednesday level hit? I don't even think their biggest Marvel and Star Wars shows have been on that level. I think it might, they have a lot of subscribers. They're doing very well in subscribers. I think Netflix still has about 100 million more, but I do wonder if maybe the Disney Plus audience is more fractured. That they're how much of it is babysitting? That really makes me wonder. Is Bluey Disney Plus's Wednesday? I wouldn't be surprised. I guess that and The Simpsons, babysitting adults and children. On that note, let's head over to Netflix's charts for just last week. Glass Onion continues to be #1 for the third week in a row, even with just moderate numbers, while Netflix overall has a number of their originals mixed in with acquisitions. So they got a healthy, there's always something for you to watch on Netflix, which I think is helping them hopefully with churn, although churn has become a problem even for them. As it's getting very expensive. A bunch of services just recently raised their prices. I think Hulu did, Apple TV did recently, HBO Max, of course, just last week. It's getting ridiculous. On the TV, and especially if Netflix decides to truly crack down on password sharing, and maybe other services will follow suit after that. It's going to get nuts. On the TV side, Ginny and Georgia Season 2 beat out fellow new show Kaleidoscope, although both managed to top Wednesday for the first time since Wednesday debuted. Wednesday was not in the #1 spot, although it's still going very strong. By the way, speaking of former Netflix Marvel stars, Charlie Cox's Treason is surprisingly weak considering how popular the actor is with fans, especially now that he's coming back to Marvel. Although Netflix did very little to promote Treason, which makes sense considering the critic and audience score. So it's apparently a clunker. Although I have to say my parents are watching it and they're enjoying it, although they didn't watch Daredevil, they're just enjoying the show. So people are watching it. Are you watching Treason? On iTunes, Universal has the top 2 spots, while awards films coming off of the Golden Globes on Tuesday are doing quite well, especially the films that posted wins. Sony's Devotion is #5. You might recall it hit digital and Paramount Plus on a Sunday, a week ago. Really wasn't promoted, but I'm glad to see that it's doing pretty well. I, in fact, watched it last night, and I think it's pretty good. I think it's low energy, and it's tough to be a movie about fighter pilots right now, as we're still in the wake of Top Gun Maverick. And of course, the two movies share an actor. But it's a true story, a very moving one, and I think it deserves to be seen. I really actually think it deserves to be seen. I don't think they're playing up enough that it is based on a true story, even within the movie itself. But not only does it deserve to be seen, but it deserves to be heard. And I gotta tell you, the sound mix on this movie is horrible. I had a hard time understanding what Jonathan Majors was saying because he's a brilliant actor, but because of the self-confidence issues and the character being very closed off because of his life experiences, he mumbled a lot. And it was very hard to understand what he was saying. I felt like I was watching a Christopher Nolan movie. I was this close to turning on subtitles. I'm curious, did anybody else have that issue? I was like, let Jonathan Majors do what he wants to do, but can you mic him better? And can you do a better sound mix so, we clearly hear the mumbling? As for this coming week, who wants to see Avatar 2 again? They're just giving Jimmy the win. They're just giving it to him. Sony has Missing, which actually looks pretty solid, and I enjoyed Searching, which this is a spinoff of. They're trying to see if they can do it again. But I mean, it looks like a digital movie to me. But it's going to be in theaters, and it's got no competition except what's currently playing. And there are no big movies on streaming this week either. As for shows, though, there is some activity here. The Mayor of Kingstown starts tonight, a new season, on Paramount+. Get better soon, Jeremy Renner! We still don't know the extent of his injuries, although they do seem to be quite serious, and there are rumors circulating that, well, they are severe, particularly to his legs. So I hope that, well, I'm sure he doesn't want to jinx himself and he wants to see how it goes, but I hope that at the end of the day, he makes a full recovery. And of course, The Last of Us premieres as the new HBO Sunday night show. My breakdown of episode 1 will drop at 10 p.m. when the spoiler embargo lifts. There's also the Critics' Choice Awards airing on the CW this evening, of which I'm a member, and I tweeted out my ballot a week or so ago, and I'll put the links down below so you can see how I voted. There's also a big football game on tonight. See, there's no gimmies in streaming. A lot of competition here. You'd think they would have just given it to The Last of Us, because, with HBO's track record. But The Last of Us is going up against a surprising amount of competition today. On Thursday, that 70s show returns now as that 90s show on Netflix, while on Friday, The Legend of Vox Machina has come back. That's a big win for Critical Role. They should feel really good about that, considering Paramount did not all consult them for their Dungeons & Dragons movie. So that will be returning on Prime Video starting Friday. So that's this week's Movie Math. What have you been watching? What do you plan to watch? What do you think of all the competition for The Last of Us tonight? And I put a poll on Twitter, and, a lot of you are going to watch a little bit after the fact. I think maybe you don't feel it's a very spoilery show. And that to some degree is true. And I wonder how that will affect the show. It's not really a Easter eggs. I can't tell if it's another Andor or not. Largely because, I'm not familiar with the original game. So it's in the gaming space, which is a little different. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm very curious to see how the show is received this evening. And then also, how high do you think Avatar 2 can go? And what do you think about Hollywood just giving Jimmy the whole runway? Share those thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.